Yes, please.
John Boyd, World Business Press. Mr. Draghi, you've reiterated many times how monetary policy is not enough alone, and how the speedy adoption of structural reforms is crucial to competitiveness and sustained growth. So my question is this: with only 22% of country-specific recommendations fully implemented at present, aren't you a little worried we're pumping air into a flat tire without fixing the punctures first? Or are you seeing now governments react to your call and start to take more action in this sense? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that data is indeed quite troubling. And I think if we are to run the same survey now, we probably find a better number. There has been some improvement, but it's very important to understand that our expansionary monetary policy finds its natural complement in structural reforms. Some people argue, and you certainly have heard them argue in this way, that accommodative monetary policy removes the incentives for governments to undertake structural reforms. It's just the other way around. It's just the other way around. Monetary policy actually accompanies, there is a dividend from a combined expansionary monetary policy and the right structural reforms. But there are good reasons for doing structural reforms without too many questions. And the main reason, really, is that we are in an area where potential output is bound to grow modestly given the demographics, the aging population, the decline in the labor force. At the same time, the European Economic Commission figures show that there is an average structural unemployment rate in the euro area of 11%. And that's an average, which means that some countries, and we know which, have an unemployment rate of around 20 or even above 20%. And they had this high unemployment rate even before the financial crisis. That's why there is no other way than undertaking the needed structural reforms. And one reason why they are also important was quoted in the introductory, was given in the introductory statement. You know, one argument is, yes, structural reforms, also we have to see which structural reforms we talk about, no? Because there are reforms that, like the change in the education system, the judiciary, and so on, which are completely different. But an argument which we hear often is that structural reforms in the long run may produce some positive effect on output growth, but in the short run they actually don't. Now, one of the reasons why this may not be entirely correct is that good, sound structural reforms actually raise expected permanent income, and therefore have an effect immediately on consumption for firms, for households, and on investments for firms. That's what I read in the introductory statement. So that's why there shouldn't be any doubt about doing structural reforms.